What scientific fact scares the absolute shit out of you? Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Thanks. Story 1. The fact that we can just get a blood clot and die and not realize anything was up. The human body has so many ways of just suddenly dying, and it's terrifying. Story 2. The fact that your body can have advancing cancer and you wouldn't know it sometimes. Father-in-law's brother was walking through his kitchen and he fainted and hit his head on the counter. He was rushed to the hospital and they ran tests and he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and his body was already in the endgame. He was dead within 2 months of diagnosis. That shit terrifies me and it can happen to anyone. Story 4. Why do I click on this shit every fucking time? Story 5. Scientific literature's conclusion on Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative diseases in general is that the diseases start decades before the first obvious symptoms and that we need to treat them at this stage. When you exhibit obvious symptoms, it's too late. Your brain is already mush. If you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 65, you had the disease since your early 40s at least. And you experienced very mild symptoms but didn't notice them. And your brain fought like hell to compensate for the deficit. When you get diagnosed, your brain is already very severely damaged and will never recover from the deficit. Story 7. Your brain can just stoke out and die at any time. Story 8. Space just in general, or that bit about the Higgs field not being in true equilibrium and that returning to it would break everything as we know it. Story 9. That one day I will die. I don't know why, but sometimes at night, as I'm falling asleep, I suddenly think of this and it freaks me out, like start feeling super anxiety. Story 10. Prion diseases exist. Story 11. I don't remember what it was called, but there was an event in the 1800s caused by solar activity where telegraphs operated on their own without power and I think caused minor damage. Should such a solar event happen again, it would destroy all of our internet network capabilities and other electrical gear. Anyone know what I'm referring to? Thanks for the links. Story 12. Less scary, more mind-numbingly depressing is the dark era of the universe. When all the star fuel is gone and it will be and all the white dwarfs have gone cold and dark and they will and all the black holes have evaporated away into elementary particles and they will, the universe will be a cold, dark place, forever. Story 13. The fact that we could get hit by a coronal mass ejection at any moment. Story 14. Fuck this whole thread. Story 15. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's genetic. You won't know that you have it. When you know that you have it, there is zero recourse. It will eat holes in your brain and you'll die. That, and fatal familial insomnia, also genetic. One of your parents woke up one day and couldn't fall back asleep until they died, having suffered rapidly progressing neural degeneration. And it tends to set in around midlife, so you spend every day waking up knowing it might be the last time. You find it hard to build relationships and have a family because you know it's not a matter of if, only when. But you know you're not gonna see your golden years. Story 17. Maybe not to scientific per se, but the fact that I could get hit by a car walking home from work and wake up in the hospital, go on with my life, meet the love of my life and get married, have kids, and watch them grow into their teens and we all have a good life. Then one day I wake up in the hospital and find out I was in a coma and none of that was real. At the time when the first atom bomb was detonated, these scientists still had not answered this question, meaning that we legitimately just crossed our fingers and hoped we wouldn't set the fucking planet on fire. Humans are stupid. Where is consciousness? What is it? When does it really end? Where does it go when we die, when we sleep? How does it occupy our entire being without being physically present? We are quite literally the universe experiencing itself, in a fragile little bubble on a mote of dust in a sunbeam. And yet, what exactly are we? That's the sort of question that keeps me up at night. I don't fear death. I don't fear world annihilation, but I am deeply unsettled by the mere experience of being aware. Story 22. The Pacific Northwest has a 600-mile-long subduction zone that is approximately 70 years overdue for 8 to 9. 2 magnitude earthquake https://n. Wikipedia. Org wiki Cascadia_subduction_zone. And nothing on that coast is built to withstand that. There has never been a strong earthquake on that coastline since European contact, because the last major earthquake happened in 1700. Unlike Japan, which had a comparable earthquake in 2011, the PNW isn't ready for it and things aren't built to withstand what's coming. Someday soon, Seattle, Vancouver, Portland, and Victoria are all going to lurch 6 feet inland, shake violently for 5 to 7 minutes, and then get hit with a 100-foot-tall tsunami. It is projected to kill tens of thousands, displace millions, and wipe out trillions of dollars of wealth, the second largest humanitarian disaster in North American history, second only to Haiti. And it seems like people are just pretending this doesn't exist. Story 24, Dark Forest Theory. And there's a big empty spot in our universe. I suspect world eaters. Story 25, every time you use an antibiotic, even for something mild like strep throat or bronchitis or traveler's diarrhea, you technically could get C. difficile infection from your wiped out gut flora. And that could end up a lingering, resistant infection that leads to colectomy or fecal transplant. Antibiotics are scary, and there's a reason doctors only want to prescribe them if absolutely needed. Story 27, the potential for false vacuum decay https://n. Wikipedia. Org, wiki, false_vacuum_decay #existential_threat closing parenthesis dot. It's possible that the vacuum state of our universe isn't really in its lowest state but is instead in a false low. If something were to cause the vacuum to decay to its true minimum somewhere in the universe, this would spread at the speed of light, and when it reached us, we would simply cease to exist. No warning, no feeling, just gone. Story 29, that I could be the only conscious being and everyone else my imagination, and I would never know. Story 30, a solar flare could really but fuck modern society. Story 31, the Marianas Trench is so deep that you could fit Mount Everest in it. Even if you stand at the summit, there would still be about a mile of ocean above your head. Story 32, there is a form of insomnia that forces your body to never be able to sleep, and has a 100% fatality rate. Story 33, your eyes have their own immune system, and if your brain ever figures that out, then it will eat away at them, turning you blind. Story 34, that long COVID has been around for 3 years and the effects on people bewilder the entire scientific community, while previously young healthy people are disabled or dying, or feel so shitty, death sounds like relief. And that I'm only on month 10. Story 35, more than 80% of the ocean is unexplored. That shit is terrifying as is. Story 36, dissociation. That shit's scary to experience. Story 37, that I always end up on these fucking posts when I'm about to sleep, truly a scientific fact. Story 38, you are always 5 or so minutes away from death, and every time you take a breath, you reset that clock. Story 39, using COVID as the example, the idea that a virus could pop up and grow out of control before humankind could do anything about it. Basically, imagine a much more lethal virus getting out. We're all screwed. Story 40, perception of reality is really just a simulation in your brain. Similarly, a dream, especially a lucid dream, can be a vivid, impactful and profound as any waking moment in your life. For those that go into the deep end of lucid dreaming, the difference between waking life and dream becomes laughable. Story 42, when we look up at the stars, we are not actually looking up into the heavens, but starting down an infinite abyss that the invisible force of gravity just happens to keep us from falling into. Story 43, the high statistical probability that someone who has commented on this thread will not be alive in a year. Good luck, everyone. Story 44, there's no current scientific evidence of the afterlife, so if we die it's over FR. Story 45, if you get scurvy, all of your old and new scars open up and bleed, even ones that have healed fully and gone white, horrifying if you've had multiple surgeries. Story 46, cockroaches can live for up to a week without their head. Cockroaches can live for 5 months on wallpaper glue. Cockroaches can hold their breath for up to 40 minutes. Yes, I have catserdaphobia. Story 47, well, these are all horrifying. Story 48, the mere thought of what would happen if fire wasn't in the visible light spectrum. Story 49, death. The fact your body can just someday say fuck you and stop functioning. It's horrifying to know that that happens to everyone at one point or another. Story 50, that there is an illness that has the ability to make you live 24/7 in an imaginary world of your own creation, and if left untreated, it can lead to decades of hallucinations, delusions, and no fucking ability to distinguish what is real and what isn't. A world when you are followed by stalkers or watched by aliens or attacked by demons. Imagine being 100% certain that celebrities are sexually obsessed with you and prime ministers want you to be their right hand. It is so fucking saddening and bloody terrifying. Imagine an LT waking up and GT, after decades, realizing that every single thing you've ever experienced in the 3D reality has been distorted by your own sick brain. My God, if I ever get diagnosed with schizophrenia, I'll kill myself the same day. Story 52. How Alzheimer's works. It's essentially chemicals getting tangled and choking neurons, only rarely letting moments of clarity through. Story 53. In 2029, there's Earth-killing sized asteroid estimated to come extremely close. Story 54. If Einstein is right, all moments in time, past, present, and future are equally valid, and it's only a limitation of consciousness that we are limited to experiencing only the present. It also means that everything that has ever happened or will happen are all mapped out in some kind of temporal landscape. I copied this comment from a post a while back, and it freaks me out. In wastewater treatment plants, they aerate the water so the bacteria breaking down the poo has plenty of oxygen. Due to the introduced air, the water density is low enough that a human body or most any object that would normally float will go straight to the bottom. Story 57. IPCC report. Story 58. The Yellowstone caldera is overdue for an eruption. Edit. Okay, so not technically overdue, but the fucker is still gonna blow someday. Story 59. These threads are strangely life-affirming in a perverse sort of way. We are so lucky to be alive with all these odds stacked against us. Story 60. The fact that for all the science can tell, there is no divine punishment for the bad guys. Story 61. We literally have no idea why or how we're here. We just are. And that is bloody terrifying. Story 62. Dihydrogen monoxide doesn't make odor in its gas form, is highly addictive and can kill you if you go too long without it. It also kills nearly 829,000 people per year and hardly gets any attention. Heavily underrated.